in those moments, what are you saying to yourself right now? Are you saying, I suck? I suck at this. Is that what you're repeating to yourself in your head? Because if you stay in that space, you will continue to suck and you're going to suck till the end. You know what I mean? Sorry to say it, but you got to pull yourself out of it. It's one thing to say, I'm going to have positive thoughts. Yeah, it's nice to say that, but what is your stepping stone to that place, right? What is your reframing?
All right, welcome back, Wellness Ninjas, to another episode of the Wellness Dojo podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Craik, and excited to have my friend Diana here. She's the founder of Satori Jiu-jitsu Martial Arts School. Thanks for being here, first of all.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm excited. This is going to be, I think, just a fun conversation. A couple fellow martial artists.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Awesome. So, I mean, let's just get started by, can you just share a little bit about who you are and what you do? Big question.
Who am I? I start with that. Man, who am I? Well, yeah, I guess I'm a mom. I'll start with that. I'm a martial artist, obviously. My gym, Satori. I'm a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I love doing charitable work. So I try to incorporate that into my business. So there's a lot of social impact in what I put out there with Satori as well. So yeah, just all of that. I'm a mom, I'm a business owner, I'm a martial artist. I love helping out the community, and I try to just breed that through my day-to-day with my kids, with my business, with everyone.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All amazing things.
Trying.
So let's talk about Satori, and can you tell people a little bit about that?
So Satori, I started it in 2011 and started very small. And I actually started it as an acupressure business. So I'm a certified shiatsu therapist. And back at that time, that was before I had my kids, I was interested in actually becoming an acupuncturist. And I thought, okay, well, why don't I start with shiatsu? And then I'll kind of build my business starting with that. Then I'll continue with my schooling and all that. And I ended up having my son shortly thereafter. So I did finish my schooling for shiatsu and decided, okay, I'm going to start a practice. And my idea at that time was, I'm going to have a clinic one day. I'll start mobile and I'll just, keep adding things on, and I'll have this multidisciplinary practice. That was my goal at that time. And then, life happens and things change and things evolve, and it's a beautiful thing. But I did that and I started my practice, but it was a mobile shiatsu practice, like nothing like that you would imagine that Satori is right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I started with that, and then I had my kids. It was very part-time for many years. So even though I started in 2011, it's not like I had a clinic and I had other therapists and things like that, but that's how it truly started. And I did that. And I even took pauses to that. Like when my oldest was really young, a baby, I couldn't really, it was hard to schedule around, especially because I was doing mobile or it was in my home at that time. But it started that way. And then kind of just the evolution of being a parent kind of made me think and revisit how I wanted to run my business, if I could continue doing it the way that I was, how I might want to change it. And really, I would say, and it's interesting because I just did an event on the weekend that kind of brought me back to like remembering that moment in my life when things started to change in direction. Also for Satori, because I was thinking, man, how do I do this? How do I run my business that I want to run? And with my kids who are really young, not having family here, not having support, also as a single parent, how do I do that? And I was kind of at a breaking point where I felt like I wasn't sleeping very well. It was just hard, right? And I actually started to seek out just good self-care practices to take care of myself so I could just do the job of just mothering that I needed to do, while in the back of my head thinking how I was going to evolve my business, or how I was going to go back to it when I had a little bit more time. And it was meditation that actually got me out of a space that I was just feeling burnt out, unable to just function sometimes because I like lack of sleep. And it was from there that I decided, you know what, I think I want to do like yoga teacher training and like meditation training, you know, out of just a pure interest to just get better at it for myself. It wasn't necessarily for an interest to teach it, but I like to learn things well, you know, so I sought that out. And then from doing it, I actually realized how much I enjoyed it and might want to teach it myself because of the impact that it had on me. So then from there, I added on yoga. I added on meditation. I ended up just adding on different things out of my own interest for learning, but then it just brought me to different places with it where I could see myself actually doing it out of a passion for the thing that I, you know, kind of brought in for myself. And it just evolved. So it was like shiatsu, and then I ended up doing yoga, and then I ended up doing meditation. I ended up becoming a doula, and like just so random all over the place. You know what I mean? Like just, you know, but really it
also so not random. Like,
not random. Like it's random. It may sound random to some people because even just when people ask the question, you know, like talk about Satori and how it started. People who entered Satori now, where it's my martial arts school, it's my jiu-jitsu school, right? I coach jiu-jitsu. They're like, what? You also do this or you also do that? But it just, you know, I love that my evolution as a mother even helped to push me in a direction that I would never have expected to go. And as I moved through it, I was able to, create work and a livelihood, but also be continually be more passionate about the things that I do. But there is an interconnection, you know what I mean? Because I can use everything that all the tools that I've learned, I can use, like my breath work, I can use for jiu-jitsu, my meditation, you know, as a martial artist, like meditation, martial arts is like meditation, right? Just present moment. You're present with your art form, right? It's like, it's actually been the easiest form of meditation for me.
Same.
Right? Yeah. Like where for some people, they have to sit down and, you know, sit with their thoughts, and they're trying to just different forms of meditation, but right, you're trying to sit down and it's hard for a lot of people to be present and not be like oscillating between like past and future, or just so many things that they have to think about. But with jiu-jitsu or kung fu or whatever martial art you're doing, you have no choice but to be present. Or people will choke you out. Right? Or like whatever it is, right? You have to be present with it, but it's not forced presence. It's like I'm very interested in what I'm learning or what I'm doing, and therefore I'm present. But anyways, I
don't want to die. Like,
I don't want to get choked out, so I better be present, right? Like I have no choice. If I'm like thinking about something else, I'm going to get caught, and then, right, what am I doing? But anyways, rambling a little bit here at this point, but I've just done so many different things with Satori, and it's just been beautiful because it's allowed me to evolve it and create work and create wholeness and interconnection. And then that community piece that I talked about earlier with just like, that's always been something I've been drawn to from a young age, but I didn't really know or necessarily have the mentorship. I did through jiu-jitsu, helping me find passion and purpose, but I didn't know it at the time. It wasn't like I was sitting down with somebody saying, you know, like, well, you know, you seem to have an enjoyment for helping people. Like, where do you want to go with that? Not like that type of conversation, right? But I just knew from a young age that I liked to help people and do things like that. But in following my passion and doing like different things, and also as a mother, just evolving how I wanted to be able to like parent, or learning tools to be a better mom or a better coach or whatever, it pushed me towards that charitable work that I was always drawn to, you know, and then to be able to take all these things that I do and put them under Satori is beautiful, right? Like how awesome to be able to do that. But I mean, it evolved to the point where I'm mainly, you know, it's a jiu-jitsu gym. It's a martial arts gym. I have Muay Thai there too, but it can be everything. Yeah. You know?
No, I appreciate the complexities that you describe, because like every time we talk now, it's like we have so many similarities in our journeys and stuff. Because like I started as a massage therapist, got into personal training, and then incorporated yoga, and like kind of like very similar journeys in that sense. And there's this quote that always stays with me. I think it was actually Matthew McConaughey said it, but it's like or it was in an episode of a podcast with Matthew McConaughey. But it's like the tragic irony of life is that it's lived forwards, but only makes sense when you connect the dots backwards. And I think that like resonates so deeply when I think back to my journey as well of like, doing all these different things and like trying all these different things.
Yeah.
And in the moment, even when people ask you like, so like, what do you do? You're like, what do I do? Like, what don't I do? Kind of is always how I described it. Mm-hmm. But then it makes sense when you look backwards, like all those things are all so connected actually, even though they seem so random.
Yeah, I think because your personality and how you are, you can appreciate it and see it as that way. Mm-hmm. I guess I'm used to describing it in that way if somebody were to ask me, because it does seem random to a lot of people, or that's the feedback that I get back, like, oh wow, I wouldn't have expected that. But it makes sense, right? Like whether you're an entrepreneur, business owner, whatever, kind of, you just live in your life, just trying to, as long as you just seek out that which brings you joy, right? There will always be an interconnection in how you relate it to your life. But when your life, what you seek as passion in your life ends up being your job too, man, I'm so grateful every day for that I get to do that, and then I can just, put it into what I offer, like through Satori. Like I'm just so grateful to be able to do that, even in my own just personal development, right? Like my own desire to seek out how to be a better person. I can use those tools in my job every day.
Yeah.
Right. But everybody can really, right? Like everybody can.
I agree. And okay, I'm curious because you talked about like starting out with shiatsu, but I'm assuming jiu-jitsu started first. Like, have you been doing it since you were young, or when did you start?
Jiu-jitsu, I started in 2001. I was 19 when I started. I'm 42 now. Which is crazy. I don't feel 42, but I do. A little bit of both. I started when I was 19, and that was never my dream. Like, I loved jiu-jitsu from day number one, and I can honestly say, because sometimes when you're trying to encourage people, whether it's your fellow teammates, or from a coach perspective, right? Sometimes you'll meet people, if you haven't already, even in your martial art, right, who feel discouraged, who have a hard time showing up for class, right? And you're like, man, everyone's been there. I've been there, but I really, honestly, I know people who have been there, and I know it's normal, but I can honestly say I've never struggled to want to come to class. I've struggled to show up when I have obligations as a parent, and then I'm like, I want to go myself, but I have these things to do as a parent or as a business owner or whatever, and I have to get these things done. That's a little bit different. But from day number one, when I started jiu-jitsu, I always want to be there. Like, I can't even say anything about anything else in my life, like when it comes to just an extracurricular, that I always wanted to show up. But
what do you think it was about it? I'm curious.
Honestly, like, I honestly can't even tell you on the initial, because now I've had 2 decades worth of experiences and connecting with people, and just successes in it and failures and things I can learn from, that I can draw from. But at the very beginning, I honestly think that, I don't know, I think that it was just meant to be, like, I was meant to do jiu-jitsu. I don't know, because it was something so far from anything I'd ever done before. I didn't have any friends that did it. I had no idea what jiu-jitsu was. So what even drew me to even call the number to do it, to inquire and show up? I have no idea, because I'd never done anything even close, remotely like that. Yeah. Ever. I didn't even know what UFC was at that time, right? This is 2001.
Yeah.
I didn't even know what UFC was. I didn't have friends that watched that, didn't have friends that trained in these things. Like, I had no idea how to pronounce it. Like, I remember calling my first, like, professor and asking, should I bring running shoes? And he's like, no, it's a martial art. I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah. Right. But I don't know. Like, I think that it was like, I was just meant to do it or something. But I did, obviously, when I got there, it was so outside like my comfort zone, and it was so different from anything I'd done. I think really just that feeling of, yeah, wow, I want to do something different. I want to do something different. Maybe just that yearning for something different in my life. But I honestly don't know. I had a great coach too. So it was it was easy to want to come back as well, right? But I don't know.
I think there's, I know what you're saying. I totally understand and relate to that feeling as well, because thinking back now as well, it's like what really drew me there. Like I can kind of pinpoint a few small things. Like I really enjoyed having like what you mentioned, like some kind of like mentor or like somebody to like that I looked up to and I admired, and like this kind of like authority figure that kind of controlled the room and stuff. But I think that meditativeness of it.
Yeah.
It's like meditativeness. I think that's a real. I mean, it's a real word now.
It is now.
Yeah.
It is now.
But I think that meditative state that you get into, I think that's a lot more powerful than even I give credit to sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But isn't it interesting though? Because I think like sometimes even when I'm saying things, when I'm coaching class, or people will ask, you know, like, do you remember, you know, the struggle or. Yeah, but when you do, I do, but I don't, you know, like I do imagine that I enjoyed, like, of course I enjoy the grind and how it challenges me. But when you do it for so long, you just, not that you only remember the latter part of your growth, but that you kind of, like I legitimately kind of forget how that first struggle as a white belt was, because I've been doing it for so long now. For example, okay, I'll just backtrack a little bit because I feel like I'm kind of going all over the place.
You're good.
But is that, for example, when you enter in, I was athletic at some point in my youth, where when I was in junior high, I really enjoyed sports, and I, you know, was on school sports teams. That's the extent to it. I didn't do like academy kind of club things, but it was school sports. But I was always just genetics, kind of skinny kid. Didn't really, you know, I would never have been chubby or fat, you know, like I just skinny kid, right? Yeah. Did sports. And then high school kind of hit, I kind of stopped doing sports. But when I hit 19 and I wanted to take something on new, I wasn't athletic, right? So I would say that I was probably quite weak, but I don't remember being weak. You know what I mean? I don't remember feeling like I couldn't do things, because I've been doing it for so long now. I remember more like feeling strong from jiu-jitsu, and having moments where, just because now I'm a black belt doesn't mean I win every single, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, of course not. But I just remember feeling strong from it. You know what I mean? So to go back and think about, okay, well, what was it that you loved so much about it as a white belt? I honestly can't even really remember what it was that I loved. Obviously I loved that it challenged me. But in that moment, I didn't have the insight. I was so young. I was 19. I wasn't like, wow, I feel so present in the sport. Like, it wasn't till later, many years later, that I realized that it kept me so present. And, you know, it was like the maturity of my own self allowed me to go back and reflect, like you were talking about, connecting the dots to later. But in the moment, young me could not have imagined what I was getting from it. It took so many years and then a maturity to look back and see what I was getting. So to be in the position I'm in now, to be able to, you know, mentor other people and young people and youth and kids, and say, like, you have no idea what this is going to do for your life, right? Because even in the moment as a 19-year-old adult, I couldn't have even articulated that. It took me years and maturity and life experiences to go back and reflect on it and see, wow, this is what I was creating all this time. I wouldn't have been able to describe it. Yeah. Even empowerment. I didn't seek jiu-jitsu, even though now it's like, oh, so much into self-defense for the community, empowerment, you know, showing up as a woman. I'm a female black belt, and so I represent, you know, showing other women what's possible, right? Anybody really, but, you know, as a female presence, when we're the minority, right? It's like, I feel like I have a responsibility to, as a woman, to show what women are capable of being able to do. But at the time, I wouldn't have been able to say that. I couldn't say, this makes me feel empowered. You know, it takes life experience and maturity to be able to, like, go back and realize that that's what was happening all along. Yeah. No, I love this conversation, because I'm really passionate about, like, goals and purpose, and how my martial arts journey has impacted my viewpoint on what that is. And what you're saying really describes it. It's when I think our motivations change, but when you tap back into, like, what was the purpose behind that motivation. So the example I always use when I'm, like, speaking and stuff is,
like my journey to my black belt. It's like I wanted to achieve the black belt. That was the goal.
Yes.
And then when I finally got there, I don't know what the experience was for you, but for me, I was kind of like, this is it. Like I expected it to be like so much more. I expected to feel more. I expected so much from that, like achieving the black belt.
Yeah.
And when you like just looking back and you're like, I didn't actually like, you don't gain anything from receiving a black belt.
Yeah.
Where everything is gained was like in that journey. And
yes.
I think that's where you kind of unravel the purpose. It's like, okay, well, what was the purpose? Why did I want the black belt? It's like, oh, because I wanted to be a role model, because I wanted to impact other people and like have this, maybe even this status. Okay, what does that mean now moving forwards then? And then you can kind of use that. And I think that's why it maybe gets blurry for us when we look back, because it's like trying to remember like, well, what was my motivation at the time?
Yeah.
It's like, well, the purpose was like the same though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little different for me. Like, I totally agree with you, while at the same time I had a little different experience, because again, when I entered, and even for years, I was never of course I knew I was going to do it for life. Like I just knew this is something I'm going to do forever. But I was never, I don't even know how, because I'm very goal oriented, you know, like I don't know how I wasn't thinking, yeah, I can't wait to get my black belt. I'm going to be a black belt one day. That honestly was never my thought until probably when I started coaching. I started coaching when I was a purple belt, and I would say brown, as I was getting closer to black, I started to get very excited about, wow, I'm actually really close now. That's really exciting. You know, like this is like 2 decades I started ago, right?
Yeah.
Like to finally achieve something that I never really even sought out to achieve. Of course, I knew I would get it one day, but I was never actually day by day thinking about my black belt. I just really, and that's exactly what I was saying. I don't know how I wasn't conscious of it. You know, I just loved the people I was with, and I loved the way I felt every day when I went to class. I looked forward to going, and I just loved being there. And that's what kept me going day by day. I was never thinking about, obviously outside of like other goal setting, like competitions and things, because when I was younger, I was very competitive. So outside of those goals, it was like little micro goals. I never thought about my black belt, which I don't know how, like thinking back about it now, how did I not think about it? I don't know. Cool, though. Like it is cool, because I see like so many of my team members, right? They're like, especially the ones that are very A-type and like to really set goals, concrete goals, strategies, like timelines. Like I have one lady that trains with me, and she's like got spreadsheet, like she's so like methodical, right?
If I go
like
to this many classes,
like maybe not her classes, but she's just like, she makes a spreadsheet, you know, like with her work and what she's got going on, so she can be organized, so she can make sure that she sets out jiu-jitsu into her schedule. But anyways, I'm just saying, myself now, I can't believe I wasn't like that, because I am very goal oriented. So I can't believe I didn't think about it at that time. But I certainly didn't think about owning a gym, right? That was never my motivation. So the fact that I got here from where I was, and then my business evolved to this, I don't know. Yeah. I just think that it's when you believe in what you're doing, whether it's, because it wasn't work related, jiu-jitsu, I just loved it, and I believed in it. I was passionate about it. Somehow life will just allow you to move in that direction, right? It just will happen naturally, because it's meant to be. Yeah. You know?
And I think that's the danger in goals sometimes, is we put so much pressure on having to achieve it, having to get that thing that we have our eyes set on. Yeah. That it can distract you from all this other kind of beauty that's happening around it, all this other stuff that's working for you. Yeah. Can be really minimized sometimes, because we feel we're so far from that goal. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I 100% agree with that as well. You know, it's just what you do with it, really. But yeah, sometimes it can be hindering when you're not hitting the markers that you want to hit in this specific timeline. But that's what I think that martial arts teaches us too, right? Like that sometimes you want to get the choke, you want to get the armbar, you want to get whatever submission or finish, and it doesn't work. You got to be adaptable, you got to move with it. And how you get there may not happen in that role, but we're just moving towards that without a specific timing, you know. But yeah, it's a balance. Yeah. It's a balance, right? That's the beauty and the meditative part of it too, right? Is that when you have that experience of your grappling and you're like, oh, I missed that choke, but now I'm like flowing into this next move and there's that, and you're not even really thinking too much about it. You're just reacting to the training that you've put in.
Yeah.
That can translate into life too. It's
Yes.
like, oh, that didn't go the way I wanted it to. Can I just, it really does train you to just be kind of malleable in life and be able to just like go with the flow a little bit more.
Totally. And that's our parallel into life, right? But again, looking back, young me couldn't have articulated that or even saw that it was happening. It was only took life experience. It's like, man, this grind really pushes me in life too. When you're hitting hard times, like, you're going to survive. You survive this. You're going to push through it. You're going to crumble. You're going to tap. Or you know, like I couldn't have articulated that.
Yeah.
Like in my 20s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's something really cool too about like putting yourself back in those positions to be like new at something as well. It's weird. Like I remember when I went and tried jiu-jitsu for a little bit, and I was telling you about that, and like I love that feeling of walking in and being like completely new at something, being a white belt again at something, because I felt like maybe I had gotten like comfortable in like, I know I'm like, I got this kung fu thing down, right? Yeah. Not in like a cocky or arrogant sense, but just like
you achieved a big milestone.
Yeah, and I was teaching it and I loved teaching it and stuff like that, but it's like I wanted something for me again. Instead of giving it, I wanted to like take it again. Yeah. But you did something similar, didn't you? Didn't you start judo for the first time a while ago?
Yeah, like I had not when I had first started jiu-jitsu, because when I first started jiu-jitsu in Edmonton, my school did karate. They were originally karate, Muay Thai, shoot wrestling, and jiu-jitsu. And I was always around the other martial arts, never had an interest, had appreciation and respect for it, but I never had an interest. Even Muay Thai, thinking that I do Muay Thai now. But I would say probably around the time that I started coaching and teaching self-defense, and I just thought to myself, you know, I want to be more well-rounded, because this is the role that I'm in, where obviously I'm teaching things from perspective of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and what Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu can do. But if I want to be able to offer more, I should know more. And then it was probably around that time, I would say, I wanted to learn more, but I knew that I needed to focus on one thing. That's just my personality. I said, once I get my black belt, then I will allow myself to go and do other things. You know, not because now I've hit and I know everything in jiu-jitsu, but just because I've hit a marker, a milestone like you, and I'm ready to, you know, take on other things. It was just a timing for me. But I went and I started, did I start judo first or Muay Thai? No, it was judo. The timelines are very close. They were very close. But I started judo and I started Muay Thai, and same thing. I love that feeling of being that brand, like starting something brand new, because I know where it can take me now with the maturity going into it. It's that mentality, right? Your black belt mentality, right? You go in there, I'm ready. I don't care if I fail. I don't care if I suck, because I know where this can take me, right? And it's, no ego whatsoever. I don't care. Like, I know I suck at this, right? But I know what's possible because I've already done it for a number of years. And then the people you meet, right? It's like so much the people makes a difference. Like, it's the connection, right? It's met. And then you see martial arts, like even you and I sitting here, right? It's just, man, martial artists, there's something about us that we connect. You know, we can have different personalities, but there's something about our personality that connects. Right? Yeah.
What do you think that is?
I think it's, learned, because not everybody enjoys failing. Because clearly, if we just look at people that are teammates or people we've trained with over the years, even cross training or things like that, right? Some people are better at failing than others, or accepting failure than others.
Yeah, I agree.
And also ourselves at different points in our lives. But I think that there is naturally, for somebody who sticks in the gym, naturally, I think that we are okay with failing. Because to come back time and time again and not be good at something and know that you want to learn, but you know that you have to fail in order to get better, it takes a certain personality to be able to do that, and commitment. So it's people that are willing to commit to things for a long term, and it's people that are willing to fail So something in our personality, I believe so, right? I tell my women even, you know, because it's not like I only coach women, but I am a woman, so I see that as I need to spend more time doing doing this and growing women's community. But women especially, you know, like for men, naturally, I think it's a little more innate. Not saying that women aren't, like at a young age when they're girls, aren't scrambly and feisty and like to wrestle, but truly, right? It's like it's a boy thing. It's a man thing, right? It's a little bit more natural for you guys. So even more so women that come to it, it's like, hey, there's something about you that brings you here, because a lot of women, the majority, don't want to roll in a sweaty environment with dripping sweat dripping on your face, in your eyeball or whatever, right? But there's something about, I think that's what it is. It's got to be. Yeah. You know,
I imagine with women too, there's this deeper level of empowerment that comes along with it too, of like like I think a lot of guys would walk around and be like, yeah, I could fight that guy if I needed to, kind of thing. But I imagine with a lot of women, there might be more of a reservation with that, of like, I don't really want to fight, or I don't know if I have the ability to. It's just like that masculine energy that might not be as high. So that level of empowerment of, I would imagine some of the women that come in that you train, that like, they get their first arm bar or they choke somebody out for the first time, and they're probably just like,
totally. Right? How could you not? Like, how can you not? I mean, but I think that's got to be what it is, you know, that because we see through our experience with our teammates and our team and people we've trained with and met over the years, even in different martial arts, right? That there's so many different personalities, like blue collar, white collar, you know, man, woman, 60-year-old. I had a 69-year-old woman come to one of my classes the other day. I was like, man, that's badass.
Yeah,
like,
no kidding.
I was like, you're a badass for being here. You know, like be the person that's 69 coming to this class. Like, I would love that, you know. Be the person that came here overweight and lost. Like, you be the first. Be the first, right? Because we see it. I mean, Canada is behind compared to other places, but man, we've grown a lot. Like, just you know, that women's event I was telling you that I was or that you've seen that I've been planning, I was looking at black belts, like just black belt women in Alberta. And holy, it is bananas. Like, it's crazy how many black belt women there are now here in Alberta. Comparatively to men, it's still the minority, of course, but that the fact that there's as many black belt women in Brazilian jiu-jitsu in Alberta as there are right now is freaking amazing. Right? But we don't see as much, you know, elderly women as we see in IBJJF competing, or even elderly men for that matter, right? They're very much the minority. But when I have somebody that comes that's 69 years old, or when I have somebody that comes that, you know, has some weight to lose, like, you be the first. You can do it. Like, you be the first one that's going to be the one that's 69 and whatever, right? Or just, you got to come back though. Right? You got to put a lot of work in.
There's something that's so cool about seeing adults try something new for the first time. Like, I love it. When I first started running like an adults only class, it was the coolest thing for me. It was so inspiring for me to see people come in, and that's what inspired me to go and finally try jiu-jitsu for the first time too, because I was like, fuck, if these guys can do it, like, I can definitely do it. I mean, even going in and starting jiu-jitsu at 19, like, that's super inspiring. Think about most 19-year-olds and how reserved they are to like put themselves out there and like risk looking foolish or like sucking at something. It's like, it's scary. That's scary.
It is. I honestly think jiu-jitsu is meant for me, man. Like, seriously, because I just don't know, because 19-year-old me was not the person you, like, I was not the me of now, you know? Like, yeah, I still have the same, you know, my personality wasn't different. You know, like my values weren't different, but I was just so young, you know? I just can't believe that I chose to do it. And all I can think of is that it was just meant for me. It was just meant to be, because why would I pick something off of I was going to Grant MacEwan College, you know, in Edmonton, and they had the sports and wellness board. I was like, I need a hobby. You know, it wasn't self-defense driven. It wasn't empowerment driven. It wasn't driven by anything else other than I should probably just do something, like find a hobby besides just like partying with my friends and whatever, you know? was 19, right? Going to school, and I just, across the board, the sports and wellness board, there was like kickboxing, there was yoga, there was like all this stuff. And I chose the thing I couldn't even pronounce. I had no idea that it was even a martial art. Like, why did I do that?
Yeah.
I have no idea. No idea. But
it's so interesting.
Thank God I did. Yeah.
Yeah. That's so cool.
Yeah.
And so another thing I want to talk a little bit about is the mentorship side of things.
Yeah.
Because I think that's also something that's very unique to martial arts, and you described it beautifully, where it's not this formal mentorship that we see a lot of nowadays in terms of like a coach that you sit down and have like a one-on-one session with. It's this really informal mentorship. What was that like for you? I'm curious.
Like for me receiving it, or
yeah,
from like
receiving it first. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, my very first professor, he was amazing. You know, I know that I came back because of him, right? I was the first student in his class, so I started also at a really good time. I always think about how I would have received it and how I would have felt had it been I started at the time that many women do now, or anybody, not just women, walking into a class that's established and many people in class, or even jumping into a class full of men. I never had that experience. So I really got to connect with my coach, and he was just so good at it. He was passionate about it. He was a very good teacher. And again, without knowing it at the time, because I couldn't have articulated that either, how good of a teacher he was, although I could appreciate he's good at his job, you know. Little did I know that was building the foundation for me later on. Like now, I still think about things that he did. I still drill some stuff that he taught me, you know, like, so like you said, informal mentorship, you know, via modeling, right? You be a good coach and be authentic as a coach. You really care about us. You lead a good class. I feel great afterwards. You're here. You know, I can count on you. Those things informally was the foundation for me. And the foundation is everything, right? So it was informal, right? And now as a coach, every day, like as we evolve, right, there's just more you can offer. There's more gifts you take on as a person, myself, things that I want to do to improve myself. And I'm like, you know what, I love the ability, and I tell my kids this all the time, I'll maybe go into that later, but that I love the fact that this is my business and this is my job. I can do anything I want. You know, it's like if I want to, like this week, I told my kids, my kids' classes, because there was competition this weekend, and some of them are competing for the very first time. And I've been having some kids who actually, not even the ones that are competing for the first time, but ones that have competed before, that have been feeling very discouraged because we've been training hard. And some of them will even say like, I suck, you know, I'm so bad at this. Like they'll have a class, like this week had a class where I had one kid, he's just like, I suck at this. Like I lost every single match today, you know, just frustrated and just feeling super down. And I've been talking to them about like mindset a lot, right? Because that's so important for us. I hear you talk about that so much too. How can you not, right? Yeah. But us now where we are, but that's your own personal development that you can add into your coaching. I've been doing that, right? And even just this, like yesterday's class, because I had some kids that were like, man, their heads down, just feeling like really discouraged. I was like, okay, in these moments when you're failing, you just lost, you're about to lose, you're not doing well, you're on the bottom, right? Someone is choking you. In those moments, what are you saying to yourself right now? Are you saying, I suck at this? Is that what you're repeating to yourself in your head? Because if you stay in that space, you will continue to suck, and you're going to suck till the end. You know what I mean? Sorry to say it, but you got to pull yourself out of it. It's one thing to say, I'm going to have positive thoughts. Yeah, it's nice to say that, but what is your stepping stone to that place, right? What is your reframing? So I made their homework. I'm like, your homework between now and next class is to come up with a thing that you're saying to yourself in those moments that you're sucking. Because when you're on top of the world, when you're winning, you're not thinking to yourself that you suck. You feel on top of the world. You don't need positive motivation in that moment because you did it. You succeeded. In those moments when you're failing, what are you saying to yourself? You're going to come up with one short little phrase. That's your homework. You're going to say it to yourself between now and next class, and you're going to tell me next class what is it that you say to yourself in those moments that you're failing. And you're going to also visualize a moment that you succeeded in. Think of a time, like the first thing that comes to mind when you won, when you succeeded, a great moment that you felt on the mats. I want you to visualize that. And when you say those words to yourself, you're going to also visualize the thing that you did that made you feel great. A moment when you succeeded. So you can remind yourself that you're capable. The fact that I can do that in my job, I can do whatever I want. You know, I can give you homework and tell you to create a mantra for your like positive self-talk. I can do anything I want to. You know, I'm like, I'm going to tell you guys to do push-ups this whole month at home. That's your homework. I can do anything I want. But of course, what I'm doing, what I want to do is I want kids to build resiliency and to build like positive mindsets on top of their jiu-jitsu, right? But the fact I can do that for my job, I'm like, my job, fuck, it's like, this is the best job in the world. Seriously. I love my job so much. I love that I can do that. You know?
Yeah.
I don't even remember what your original question was. I'm sorry.
No,
just rambling, but
I
it's
love
like
the passion.
Mentorship. Mentorship is that I was receiving informal mentorship that solidified for me passion in your job. Be good at what you do. I didn't know it at the time. And then as I've evolved my own passion in jiu-jitsu and decided that I wanted to coach and then been coaching, I'm intentional about it. I'm intentional. I'm consciously doing it because I want to be the best coach I could be, obviously. And I also want to be the coach that I would want, you know, like the coach that I got, or the coach that I wish that I had, or the coach that, you know, like if I could be coached by anybody, I want to be that coach. Yeah. You know, that's what I strive for.
That's like the best advice I ever got in terms of parenting too.
Yeah.
It was like, be the parent that you like wish you had. And even if you had great parents, you can still use that and be like, okay, what kind of parent would I want if I was in my kid's situation right now? And I approach it the same way with teaching now too. And it's really interesting. I'm going to make an assumption, but I would assume that like me, like your instructor didn't do those same types of things, like the mindset exercises necessarily as much.
No, like my first coach was amazing, but it wasn't that. It wasn't that.
It was like stuff, learned through practice, right?
That was how, like, for example, I was saying this to somebody the other day because they were freaking out underneath somebody, ready to tap out just from claustrophobia. Right? Which is something I've definitely been there.
Yeah, I was going to say that's very real.
Man, my friend was sitting on my head the other day. We were like working out, we were drilling out something, and I was just like, fuck this. I'm like, I had that moment where I'm like, oh, I can't breathe. Frick. I feel it. I feel the pressure that I can't breathe, and I'm about to freak out because I can't breathe. But ever since, for sure blue belt, but I'm sure at white belt, I don't remember, but I'm sure. Anyways, as a young belt, right? I remember those moments when I'd tapped, and I remember telling myself, okay, I can't tap to freaking someone sitting on my head or just from pressure. This is dumb. I don't like, it's okay. I know that it's okay, but I don't like that feeling of tapping to feeling like I can't breathe. Because of course I can breathe. There's all this space around me, even though it feels like there isn't space. And so the talk I would tell myself is, you're fine. Just find a window. And I would just like be stuck underneath someone, and I would just like look for a little window to breathe. And then I would remind myself, just, I can breathe. It just feels really hard to breathe, but I can breathe. Worst thing that's going to happen is I'm going to pass out, but I'm not going to pass out because I have a window to breathe in. Right. But yeah, I forgot what your original question was because I'm rambling, but
I love that.
I just was saying to somebody the other day that like, you gotta just talk it out, like whatever it is that you're doing, find a way to reframe it. Yeah. You know?
Yeah. And I often will even remind myself backwards a little bit too, where like I so badly want to instill those mindset pieces into my students. And when they're not getting it, or they're just like not receptive to it, I remind myself that I wasn't taught in that way. Like nobody laid it out and like verbalized the mindset piece to me like that. Like this is all stuff that I learned through my struggles, through going to competition and getting my ass kicked, and through winning, and through like going back and training and then perfecting that move, and then finally getting the attaboy from my instructor when I did get the kick down, and like those types of things. So I remind myself of that too, is like they're going to like learn they're on their own journey as well. Right. And as much as I want to kind of give them everything that I can to help them improve, because we want our students to be better than we ever have been, right? but there's some solace to that too, where I do step back sometimes. I'm like, but they're on their own journey. They're going to learn at their own pace, and they're going to learn with their own struggles too.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. I remember your original question now is that was your coach, is that the way that he coached you?
Yeah.
And then, yes, he was passionate, but yeah.
Which you did answer it.
It's your own. Yeah. I just forgot what the original was because I get like all excited about what we're talking about, and I just like go on and on. No, but anyways, yeah, it is true though. It's your own life experiences. We speak from our point of view. We don't speak from other people's points of view. Mm-hmm. We can imagine other points of view and we can understand other points of view, but we speak from our own experiences. And yeah, it's definitely like what's worked for me, you know, and again, yeah, what if it did work, why would you not share it, right? Exactly. Or through the struggles, maybe you took a really long time to get to another place and you've been able to reflect on it that, you know what, I could have done it better. And I have the ability to go back mm-hmm. and see that there was it was easier. You could get to that point B without doing all these other side steps, right? Yeah. And so
it's what evolution is.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, it's, I think, man, what a mate. Like I'm so grateful every day when I have these fulfilling moments mm-hmm. in my job and mm-hmm. to be able to do that even for my own self-work, to be able to share what has worked for me in my job. What a blessing.
Yeah,
seriously.
I agree. And I think it is those informal kind of mentorship experiences through life that can be so powerful because mm-hmm. I don't know, I always approach coaching and mentorship in this way of like, I'm not going to tell you necessarily what to do. Like mm-hmm. I will teach you skills mm-hmm. and like offer you those, but like I would rather I want to be a guide and a teammate to your journey and to the things that you kind of like already know. Mm-hmm. Just like want to help people along the way, which is really what we're doing.
Yeah. Right? You're here for them, but they got to create their own. Obviously, like I'm sure it's the same in Kung Fu too, right? You give them obviously from your perspective, right? Mm-hmm. From your point of view, through the skill set that you have, you show them you teach them the techniques, mm-hmm. but it's their responsibility to take it and make it what they want. Mm-hmm. Like your style, like even latter years, right? Like, cause I started in Edmonton and then I came here mm-hmm. and I moved to Calgary and then I had to change coaches. I had to change teams, right? And it's like, you can be such a different body type, such a different personality, such a different interest in your game than your coach. Mm-hmm. But they'll give you a foundation and it's your job to then take it with it what you want. Yeah. Right. And sometimes you have to because you can't see. I can see from your perspective because I'm small, you're big, right? Mm-hmm. You're 200 pounds and I'm 120, right? Mm-hmm. It's like I have to create something different. I can't create the same as you, right? But I think that's the beauty in it, right? Mm-hmm. How can you teach somebody something and they can just do with it what they want? I mean, in some jobs you can get away with that. In some you can't. Mm-hmm. You got to do it this way, right? Yeah. That's cool. Yeah. I think that's really, really, like, if people could realize that they can create or co-create, right? Yeah. It's a beautiful thing.
I agree. Yeah, it's a beautiful form of authenticity through coaching and martial arts, especially. I think
creativity.
Yeah. It's like even like you're just describing, like I could imagine like a grappling technique or a reverse or something that is taught and drilled. But then when you see somebody do it, it's never going to look the same mm-hmm. for two people, right? Because the body, like depending on what your opponent looks like, feels like, all those different types of things, and it relates to me in like the forms that we do. Mm-hmm. We teach these sequences, but then every student has their own unique way of doing it. Like I'll have like 3 young girls who are in the same division at a tournament. They're doing the same form, and they get different scores. Right? Because they did it differently. Wow. Not necessarily that that one is necessarily inherently better or anything, but they have different strengths, they have different weaknesses. Yeah. And then the form, the routine is actually showed differently. Right? One person they show a form with like really low stances and like finesse, whereas another person might show it with like harder, with more power, because those are their strengths and their weaknesses. Their kind of abilities are different, and that's them kind of creating their unique, authentic way of showing what they've learned. Yeah. Which is really cool.
That is cool. Mm-hmm. Love it.
Okay, I have a fun...
Freaking love martial arts.
I know, right? Okay, I have a fun question for you.
Okay.
I imagine it won't be martial arts related, but I
Okay.
imagine we'll find a way to make it that way.
All right.
So my last guest wrote a question.
Okay.
So I'm going to read that question for you.
Okay.
And then I'll
Is
let
this
you.
a thing you've been doing?
Yeah.
Write a question for the next person?
Yeah.
That's fun.
Do it with every episode.
All right. Okay.
So I haven't read it yet. So
Okay. Well, you haven't read it?
No.
Wow, you only read it right before?
Yeah. I'm reading
Cool.
it for the first time right now.
That's so cool. I like that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Okay. What do you feel defines you as a person? Consider both how you feel defined publicly versus within yourself.
Can you read it one more time?
Yes, of course. What do you feel defines you as a person? Consider both how you feel defined publicly and within yourself.
Okay. Values. That's the first, I would say, is the first thing.
See, martial arts.
Yeah. Your values, right? Like I think of my dad as something that, like, he said enough times growing up that it's just the truth. It's been in different contexts, but he's talked about just, like material possessions, the things that you own and whatever, superficial things, right? And he's like, I work so hard, and I can't take this house with me when I die. Like, I can only, what's going to be in my tombstone, right? He's like, can it fit in the four walls of your tombstone? But what are you taking with you when you die, right? And it's like, what do you want to be? He never really said, what do you want to be remembered by? But he would just, in context to reference to what he was always talking about, was because he always worked so hard. I had refugee parents, just freaking worked really hard. And he'd always work really hard and just and say to us, what is it all for? I did this for you guys. I did this for you. I wanted a better life for my family. That's why I fled Vietnam, right? I want a better life for you guys. But all this work, like, I don't care if my house looks like this, or I don't care if this and that, like, I can't take it when I die, right? Mm-hmm. So I thought of my dad too when you read that too, in the sense that your values, what do you want to be remembered for, right? You're not going to be remembered for how big your gym was or how big your home was. Wow, that guy had a nice gym. Or even if you reflect on your childhood, I tell my kids this, you don't remember, oh man, I had a really nice bike. Yeah. I mean, you might remember the bike, but you don't look back on your childhood and remember things. Mm-hmm. You remember the experiences. And I think about that, like the why, right? Like Simon Sinek, the golden circle. I frame my whole life and every decision I make, I didn't realize that when I became more conscious again with that maturity, I didn't realize I was doing it for the why. When I came across that model that Simon Sinek put out there, I connected with it, and I said, yeah, that's what I'm doing. And that's the foundation from which I should make every decision of my life from, is why am I doing it, right? And again, going back to like in service, I really just believe that you got to follow your passion in everything that you do. You got to have purpose in everything that you do. And I'm not just talking about business, but also the service part. It's like, okay, how do I define myself? A caring person. Like, I care about people. I'm passionate about the things that I do. And I'm continually seeking growth. I want to grow as an individual, right? When we don't grow, when we don't progress, and we're stagnant, we're unhappy, right? So it's like, I want to be happy. I want to grow. I want to progress. I want to help other people achieve those things too. And that's how I'd like to be defined, right? Not by necessarily the size of my gym or how nice the mats are or whatever. Of course, those things, look good into the eye. It's like, wow, success. What is success? But am I meeting those things? Do I feel like good in my heart that I've done a good job today? And as a mother, right? Like, why am I doing these things? Why do I do the things that I do for my kids, right? I think it comes down to that why. So I would say your values as a person, like what's important to you. And that's how I define myself.
I love it.
Yeah, that's a good question.
That was a beautiful answer.
Yeah. Now I feel all this pressure. I got to come up with a good question. Have you had a repetitious question yet?
I haven't yet. No.
Okay, I got to come up with a good one.
Yeah.
That's cool. I like that idea.
You got to challenge them a little bit.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah,
that's
thank
a cool
you.
Idea.
Yeah, you handled it well. You did great. Yeah.
I think better than the intro of who are you?
Yeah,
it's like,
right.
man, that's a loaded question.
It is, yeah. I know.
Because, even just, I actually I put intent into it. I felt a little off, like when you asked me that initially, because I feel like when it's not the response that that people expect, because I feel like when you describe yourself, like what do you do when you meet somebody new and there's that small talk, it's like, so what do you do? Right? It's like, what do you do? People describe what their job is, right?
Yeah.
Like anytime you meet somebody, I really try hard when I meet somebody new to not ask them, what do you do? Because the automatic response is your job.
Same. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I do the same
And so
thing.
the question of like, who are you? It's like, okay, it's not what do you do, but who are you? It's like, wow, that's a big question. But then to answer with, well, I'm a caring individual. I'm a lover.
It creates pause.
I
right?
like sweating. You know, like I like, you know, it's like it's the answer that you expect to get is not necessarily the answer that you wish to give, because the way that we speak when we're getting to know one another, obviously it's not the first time we sat down, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, wow, that's a loaded question, but I like that you asked, who are you? And not, what do you do? Tell us what you do. But of course it wouldn't be weird to answer that question because we're sitting down and talking about it on a podcast, right?
Yeah, totally.
But I actually do try hard when I meet new people to not ask, so what do you do?
Yeah.
It's like, what do you like? What do you like?
I know.
Like, ask a very random question.
Well,
like,
it's funny because initially, like, I was like, I shouldn't ask that question because of that reason.
Yeah.
But now I'm genuinely curious to see how people answer it every time. So I keep asking it.
Yeah,
It's
you should ask it, but I'm
tell me about yourself, right?
I'm not satisfied. What did I initially say? I'm not even satisfied with my response because I had that moment where I'm like, oh, it's one of those moments when I hate asking people what they do, and I don't ask people what they do anymore. I ask, what did you like? What's something awesome that you did today? Just a random that people wouldn't expect you to ask them, so that you go outside of something that's superficial and something that's a little bit maybe more deep.
Yeah.
But I felt a little like, oh, how do I want to answer?
I'm pretty sure the first thing you said was, "I'm a mom."
I'm a mom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like in my mind, I'm like, okay, she listed her role first.
Yeah. I'm
Right?
a mom. Yeah. I was trying to find strike a balance between answering the question kind of without going real deep into it, because I didn't want to start off really deep. Honestly, that's like in my head, that's what I thought, because I do consciously, when I meet new people, try not to ask that question, even though it's kind of just like, hey, how are you?
Yeah.
It's an automatic question that we ask. How are you? Everyone at the grocery store. I even try in those moments too, when you're at the grocery store and they're like, how are you doing today? Everyone's like, good. How are you? People don't hear you. People don't care. You actually had a shitty day.
Yeah, be authentic.
And you want to, you actually say, yes, I had a good day. I try hard when I'm having a crap day to be like, today was tough.
Yeah.
How's your day?
Yeah.
You know, it's like, we don't need to get into it. I'm just honestly answering you instead of having the automatic response that you don't actually care about.
Yeah.
And whatever.
And there's more connection there.
There's more connection.
Yeah.
Because what I've noticed is some people are like, yeah, I've been up since this time, and I'm like, I'm sorry, man, I hope your shift gets better. You got an hour to go. You know what I mean? It creates a different kind of connection besides 100%. Hi, how are you? Good. How are you doing? Good. Okay, did you even listen to me? Do you even care? Did you even look up? Versus, I had a shit day today. How was your day? I'm fucking having a bad day. It's like, yeah, me too. It's like, all right, we both had a bad day. I hope yours gets better. Fuck. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
But it creates a different...
It's about being real, like being real, being authentic. And I've appreciated you being super real and super authentic today on this episode. It's so fun. I genuinely like don't want this conversation
I know,
to
we're
end.
just talking forever.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I had that moment when we had coffee and then thinking about it, I'm like, I wonder what we're going to talk about, you know? Like, I wasn't worried about it because we talked forever last time.
Because we already talked about everything, right?
We talked about so much forever, and we could have kept talking.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, I wonder what we're going to talk about. We talked about so much. But, of course, natural.
Yeah, I love it.
It's easy to talk.
Yeah. Well, thanks for being here.
Thanks
I really
for having
appreciate
me.
it. Yeah, of course. Of course. And we'll definitely do it again because, like you said, we could talk forever. So.
For sure.
Yeah. And thanks, everybody, for listening
Kyle.
and watching. And we'll see you in the next episode.